All right, we are live on Facebook for another Thursday's Top Tips in Real Estate. We go live every Thursday at 2 p.m. with the amazing real estate professionals in our area, and each week they tell us about a topic. We each pick out a topic, or we pick a general topic, and then we talk about it from each perspective, from realtor side, title side, and lender side. And it's always a great conversation that we have, picking the brains of these amazing professionals. So today's topic is pretty interesting. It is about, we're going to do a Q&A for interviewing your professionals. Now, we've talked about this in other calls where it's very important to know the person that you are going to be dealing with and answering or asking the proper questions to make sure that they're going to work hard for you, and knowing that they're going to do their job in the best way possible for what you need. So we have some great information to share with you guys today. We're going to kind of do it like, we're going to give you a question that you should be asking these professionals, and then we're going to answer it and say what a good answer for that question would be. So I'm excited to hear about what we're going to come up with today, and yeah, we'll go from there. So we're going to start off on the realtor side of things, and that is starting off with Alannah. So Alannah, give us your 2 cents.
Hi, everybody. I'm Alannah with eXp Realty. I wanted to come up with just the perfect question. If I could only ask one question, it would be phrased, assuming that everybody knows what a realtor actually does, what's standard procedure. And my question, if I could only throw out one, would be, what else do you do? What do you do beyond the very basic of your job? How do you stand out from the crowd? So that would be my question. And I mean, I would love to know what the other people on this call would answer to that.
Okay. So yeah, let's do it like that, where you ask a question and then let's see what other people have to say in regards to it, right?
I could wax poetic putting words in my mouth, but I'd love to talk about it.
All right. So then, does anybody have an answer for that?
I would say, this is Codi, by the way, Bourgeois Real Estate Group. I would say what would make a person stand out, a realtor stand out from the crowd, is the work that you put in behind the scenes. How often you follow up to make sure that things are going to be done on time and everybody's on the ball doing what they're supposed to be doing. You'll hear from your realtor quite often if they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. So that would be my take.
Good answer. Go ahead, Katie.
I wasn't aware that we were going to do question and answer. I think this is so great. So, what makes you stand out from the rest? Like, what are your qualifications? How much time, energy, time, energy and money have you spent, in expanding on your craft, developing your skills within real estate? So not only having the resources that help you stand out, but also what are your qualifications, and outline those valuable classes and designations and expertise that you have that helps you stand out from the rest.
I like that. Do any of the lenders have anything to add to that? Like, if you were going to be speaking to a realtor, like what do you think is something important that they should answer to that?
What type of business they focus on. So if I were interviewing a realtor, I would probably say, hey, I know if I was listing a home, I would ask them, what is their expertise? Do they list the homes typically? Are they buyer's agents? Do they have a team that one focuses on one or one focuses on the other? So I think it's more or less what the situation is and what the client is doing. But that's a question I would say to ask as well, because some specialize in one more than the other as well.
That's a good one. Anyone
Love
else?
that.
Carol Doles here, Gateway Mortgage. I would follow up on that expertise. Like, what is your expertise in my situation? If I'm a first-time home buyer, how many first-time home buyers have you helped? What do you do for those first-time home buyers, especially helping them get educated? Because me personally as a consumer, what are you going to do for me in my situation? Because everybody's situation is different. That's what I mean by your expertise in my situation.
That's a good one. And I'm going to chime in. I think that I would ask, am I going to be dealing directly with you? Do you have a team that I'm working with? Are you too busy? Are you going to pawn me off to someone else? Like, what is the situation going to be there? Who am I going to be actually communicating with during the process? If I ever have a question, who am I contacting? Is it you directly or is it a team? What's the situation in that regard? Is a question I would ask. Go ahead, Katie.
That is a great, Katie Bourgeois of the Bourgeois Real Estate Group. I always forget to say that. A good follow-up on that, Lucy, is specifically for the lending side. Who is going to be the main contact, and are you that main contact throughout the process? And do I need to call you every time, or are you going to hand me off to your manager or a loan file transaction coordinator or whatever? Yeah. Like, it's super important on the mortgage side, because once you send in your docs, if someone else is handling your stuff now, you need to know, and you need to have confidence that they are going to communicate effectively as well.
Can I chime in? That was my number one question as a lender, because the reason why I say that is, like, are you a call center, or are you actually a loan originator that's going to work on my loan from start to finish? Am I going to be talking to you, just like what you said, or are you just an order taker and you don't really know anything about my file once my file is turned in? Because that's really important, because I can tell you right now, I know who those people are. They are not me. I am going to be talking to your customer all the way up from start to finish and be at that table at closing. And I know Tony is as well. That's the way we do business, but that is very, very important, especially the consumers that are shopping on the internet. Because if you're shopping on the internet and you're looking for a low rate, you are dealing with a call center. You may never talk to that person again. And that's the other reason why you want to shop local.
And yeah, in regards,
and that was my number one. I did actually write something down.
No, absolutely. In regards to that too, because some of them have like these ways where they make it feel like you have direct connection with them, where they're like, oh, here's a number that you could text, and then you can text me and I can respond, but it really just goes to an email that they're just going to answer 9 to 5 anyways. So it's not really anything.
There's also some people, and we know who they are too. They're like they call themselves a team, but the team leader, you never get that guy, but he's getting credit for your deal. You're getting all of his assistance. So he may not know when something goes wrong, but you think he's the one that knows. Does that make sense? Katie, can you chime in on that?
Yep. We have a few, and that's fine. That's their business model. But they're getting credit for all the work that's being done by their team members. We don't work that way. We are a team, but each individual agent gets, the full credit and takes over that transaction. Once it's handed to them, it's theirs. And I only step in when I need to. Absolutely. I don't take any of the credit, but I'll help fix all the problems.
There you go. So, Codi, what is your number one question of the day today?
Well, the question I get asked a lot is about the process. What is the process? How does it work? What should we do first? So that's like what I get all the time.
Okay, so that's your question. What is the process like?
Mm-hmm.
So I would say having a good timeline in order for them, making sure that they have a timeline ready for you and saying, this is what steps you're gonna have to take to get to the end. This is what the race looks like. Yeah. And these are the hurdles we got to go over, or whatever it might be, to get there. So that's how having that prepared.
Yeah, basically you want a person with a timeline where they can, tell you, well, listen, I'm going to be the kind of agent who's going to guide you step by step. And oh, by the way, I'm going to give you a roadmap, and it's going to be coming from these places. Or is this going to be the relationship where I have to keep calling you and asking you what the next step is because it hasn't been provided to me? Because I'd want to know up front if I was working with someone like that too. Definitely.
Absolutely. Right. Go ahead, Katie.
Can I screen share?
Yeah, sure.
And he's always got the visuals.
I have a cool timeline. Tell me if you can see it.
Oh yeah, we've
Yes,
seen
sir.
this before.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
I love it.
All of the clients get that.
The buyer side and the seller side, you know, that it guides them along. It doesn't cover everything, but it
I
covers
was going to
enough.
say, not a lot.
It covers enough to get through the process, and it doesn't have any of the mortgage stuff or, you know, the extra stuff that should come from that professional. But, you know, that's just one example.
Absolutely. And we actually went over that in one of our last videos or weeks back. We did a process timeline and we each covered a topic in the process because there's a lot of things that go into the whole process. And we all know that. And that's why it becomes so overwhelming for a lot of people because there is so much. But having that timeline, the basic timeline to even understand where you're going to kind of be at and like understanding where you are in the process is very important. So that's a good question, Cody. Go ahead, Eric.
So in addition, kind of piggyback on that, it's important to know the process. Like I would ask, what are the steps? But from a lending point, I'm sorry, guys, Eric Rosberg, Cross Country Mortgage. From a lending point of view, what do I do and what don't I do in that process? Meaning, I don't deposit a lot of cash. I don't go buy a new car. Like, especially with first-time home buyers, they don't know that aspect of it.
Absolutely, yeah. And knowing the difference, but being very clear and concise in the beginning as to what the expectations are, what is right and what is wrong, you know, in that situation. Oh, did I feel it? I'm sorry. All right, so we're gonna move on. I'm not gonna answer anything. Katie, go ahead and give us your top question for today, or your question that you want to throw out there for everyone, or can answer. You are muted.
We kind of covered a little bit of it. I thought that you know, when you're asking of interviewing a professional, asking of them, Alannah had a great point about you know, what makes them stand out, and I would say more specifically, what are their qualifications, expertise, and you know, take note of their communication style or ability to communicate quickly with you, and if they have systems in place to handle your questions or to get you information in a very rapid fashion, comprehensive and, you know, timely. Those are super important to me when I'm hiring anyone to do anything. I also feel very strongly, especially in real estate, that you get a sense of how resourceful your professional is going to be on your behalf. If they can't figure out how to jump a hurdle and get through a challenge by being resourceful and thinking of solutions to get to the final answer, you probably need to keep looking or ask some more questions, do some more research, and you know, Google them.
That's a good one. Googling, hey, the power of Google is there.
Oh yeah. So
utilize it. How are they, you know, putting your listing out there? Like, how are they, you know, gonna be helping you? What is their presence online in general? You know, that's a big thing right now too. So I want to go to the lending side of things, and I know we've kind of, Carol had brought it in there, but Eric, do you want to give us your, you know, top question that you think someone should ask a lender when they're interviewing you guys?
Yeah, you kind of changed the format, so I'm kind of.
I know a little bit, but that's all right.
Very important question, I think, any client or any realtor. So if a realtor is interviewing me, or a client is, am I going to get a pre-approval or is this a pre-qualification? Because a lot of people don't know the difference. So
okay.
I'm going to throw that out there. All
righty. So do we have any answers?
You know, the one thing that always stands out to me is something that Katie tells me all the time. Like if you're not happy with the responses you're getting, then you have to ask better questions. So you need to ask exactly what that means. You know, the qualification versus the approval. How much closer to the finish line does that bring me? Is there anything else I need to do? You know, so it's just you have to ask better questions to get to where you need to be.
Absolutely. No, that's definitely true. And making sure that you pay attention to how they answer those questions.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Alannah.
Well, and when you're a client, you know, coming and you're going, I don't know the steps of the process. And even people who might know the steps of the process play dumb. If you don't know the steps of the process, what they have to share with you about how it works and how it flows and what the qualifications are, you can do a much better job screening just how thorough they are guiding you and how much they expect you to know, because we all know what they say about assuming. So I think the measurement of a great professional is one that can guide their client to asking those questions, or maybe in a gentle way pointing out questions that we should be looking at. Because again, you know, a professional in either regard, you know, realtor and lender, they're guides throughout that portion of the transaction process.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Anyone else have to chime in? No? Do you have an answer to your own question, Eric?
Yeah, I can do that. So a pre-qualification, and this is something that, because they'll ask us, pre-qualification is, hey, we have a conversation, you tell me you have good credit, you make a lot of money, I say, yep, you're probably qualified for this. A pre-approval is we look at all your income documents, asset documents, your liability and credit is reviewed. And then it's very important to run it through either desktop underwriting or LP, because at the end of the day, that's the true final approval. That's when Freddie Mae or Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac look at it, that's what they're going to make their decision on. So that's the difference between a pre-approval and a pre-qualification.
Okay, very nice. Very nice. All right, so we'll move on. Also on the lending side, Tony, are you free?
Always.
All right, there you go. You're looking off of the side now.
We're about to play some music, and I didn't know how loud it would be, so I'll try to be brief and quick. So again, Tony Garcia with Cross Country Mortgage and the Garcia Mortgage team. But what I would say in this scenario, to kind of piggybacking a little bit on other ones, but more for the communication part, is ask your lender about availability. And piggybacking off availability as well is going to be, when can I expect contact from you throughout the process? So right now, let's be honest, things are taking a little longer just due to the processes being kind of behind and everything being overloaded. The mortgage business is crazy busy, and operations is full. So there are a few expectations to be, not everything's closing in 2 weeks right now. We have some times, I don't want to say delays, but there's some longer time frames due to that. But the big thing is get expectations up front on when you're going to get in contact from your lender to you. So personally, my team and I always do a weekly, depending on when I get the contract and when it's actually submitted. I typically schedule something, hey, at least one day a week, whether it be Tuesday, Friday, but I set that expectation up front on when you can expect to get an update from me. If there's anything I need in the meantime, I will always get in touch with that client outside of that, but should be asking, hey, how often am I going to hear from you? When can I expect updates from you? As well as, when are you available? Are you only available 9 to 5? Or Eric, haven't mentioned yet, but like Carol and myself, pretty sure we're available from about 4 a.m. to about 10 p.m. And that is another question to kind of ask, is when can I reach out to you and what is the best contact method to do so?
Absolutely. That's a great one. That was great input, Tony. As always, you always have something good to put in. Does anybody have any comment on that? Per se? No? I mean, he pretty much knocked it out of the ballpark. Oh, you got it.
I just want to add there that, kudos to Tony and Carol and probably Eric as well for setting the expectations. With the most recent example that I can think of, the lack of communication absolutely, destroyed the opportunity for us to have future business with an individual. So set those expectations as a service provider, as even on the customer side, the person that's out house hunting or wants to sell their property. We need to know when you're available as well. When can we expect that you can look over documents, and when you can go out and look at properties and make our schedules work together?
Absolutely. It's great input. Carol, do you have your question that you want to throw out there?
We kind of covered mine in the beginning, but I did want to follow up about what is your experience, especially from a loan originator? You want someone that has been in the business a little while. You don't want like a loan assistant or somebody that I was selling cars 6 months ago and now I'm a loan officer. Yippee! No, I pride myself on my experience, but I'm older probably than everybody in this group here. But I pride myself on my experience because I've worked through every aspect in this business and I've gone through all the hard knocks of it. So you want to make sure that someone is experienced that can work and get those answers for you. And even though I may have all this experience, I don't have all the answers, but I will get the answers. And I always will let my customers know, hey, you know what, especially with COVID right now, half of us don't know what we're doing half the time anyways. So I'm very honest. I'm like, let me get the answer. But I really think experience is a good question to ask somebody is how long you've been doing this? Where did you get your experience? What have you done? Because somebody could have been at Walmart 6 months ago. You just don't know. And now, right now is the time you need someone that's experienced that can get us through these crazy times that we're in.
Absolutely. That's definitely a very big one. And just being knowledgeable of, like, there's a lot of people that get into the industry and there are some, like everybody and their mom knows a realtor, right? And everybody can get into it. It is a fairly hard test to get into, but it's about the knowledge and actually going and figuring out all of those questions. So like, it's one thing if you get in the business and maybe you haven't sold, a bunch of houses, but I feel that it's how you try to find that information and how you actually utilize that information. Like, are you continually learning? Are you always trying to find out every situation that you could be falling into with your client? Like, or are you just kind of like skating by and being like, oh, well, I just sold a house, like whatever.
Yeah. For some of us, it's a career, and then some others, it's a part-time job. And
exactly.
I've always had it as my career, but I know how this industry works, and you guys know how your industry works. You just want someone that's going to be available and have the knowledge or have done the work to get the knowledge, because there's a lot to learn in this business and you cannot learn it overnight. You just can't. It takes time to really learn to know what you're doing. And that's what the assistants are there for. We train them to bring them up the ladder so that they take over for us geezers and let us step aside. Let's take it on.
Oh, that's funny.
No substitute for experience.
Correct.
Here.
Very true.
And you can work with someone who's new into the industry, but you want to make sure that they're paired with somebody who is well-versed and can jump in and is part of that process. And like Carol was saying, if you're working with somebody who's maybe a junior to Carol's seniority there, at least Carol's watching. She's managing those communications and she's making sure that everything's taken care of, giving them the experience, but also having that that wealth of knowledge as support.
Absolutely. Making sure they have a good...
Katie.
Takes one to know one.
There you go.
Love it. No, that is very important. And just knowing that you have a good backing behind you pretty much. Because I mean, there are a lot of people who can get into the business and they're just fight or flight type of thing, but that's what it is. What I wanted to bring up is I think that communication is, I think we touched on it. Communication is obviously very important, but how they communicate with you and how receptive they are to your questions. So if you ask someone a question and they kind of like skate around the answer, or maybe they answer it, but they, you know, don't seem very enthusiastic about answering it. Like, you want to make sure that you're paired with someone and your team that you're working throughout this whole process, that they are receptive to your answers. They want to give you in-depth answers, not just, yeah, you need it. Like title insurance. Nobody knows what title insurance is. It's my goal to change that. But, you know, people don't understand what it is. And when they ask questions about it, we want to give them an in-depth answer about it, not just, you need it, that's why you're here, like type of thing. So we want to make sure you have that background and knowledge. And that's one of the biggest things one of the biggest questions that we get is, what is title insurance and why do I need it? And then we answer with a very logical, and we break it down for them so that they understand it. You know, there's two different ways to give information. You can give information and then you're just going right over their head. I mean, we've all been in those types of situations before, right? Where you're having a conversation with someone and it goes, you don't even know what they're talking about, but they just keep going and they don't see that the dots aren't clicking for you. And, you know, you have to be able to see that and be like, okay, you don't understand. Let me break it down even further for you so that you understand exactly why this is in place. I know that that's how I learn. Like if I'd be like, why is the sky blue? Like if you don't have an answer for me, then, you know.
Can I touch on that?
Yeah, of course.
Can I respond to that? I got a call the other day from a gentleman out of state asking about the owner's title, and I explained it to them, you know, but with me, with the communication, especially because I deal with a lot of first-time home buyers and you really have to hold their hand. And I personally try to educate them throughout the entire process. And, you know, I have an example. I have one closing tomorrow, and he's been texting me literally all day with questions because he's at work, so he cannot call, but I'm there to answer every question, but I try to make it, I don't want to say dumb it down, but I want them to understand. I don't want them to feel like they're overwhelmed and really don't understand, because that's the only way they're going to learn. And I like to educate all of my consumers. Even the millionaires don't understand why they can't get a loan if they don't have any income. You know, it's my job to explain that to them. It's like, you can have $1 million, but you've got to have income. And that's a hard conversation to have, but I do communicate that and try to educate them and explain to them why these things happen or why you have to have these things.
Absolutely.
Can I touch on that?
Go ahead.
So, you know, there is no substitute for experience, for sure. So the one thing that I just learned is that one of the questions that you should ask, it kind of goes back to what we were talking about before, how many people you're going to be dealing with, because if you have to deal with multiple people, you want to make sure that all those people are on the same page and you're not getting different answers from all those different people, especially when there's timelines involved and you have an expectation that they're actually going to get something done for you. So it's real important that you know exactly who you're dealing with.
Absolutely. And making sure that all of those people are communicating with each other and that everybody's on the same page. It's communication is so important in this business, and it's just like communicate. And you know, to Carol's point too, with that communication, I just lost my train of thought. I don't know, it just went out the window, so that's fine. I'll come back to it. I just had it and then it went. I was like, oh well.
Good job communicating that though. We're gonna jump right back into the next
Yeah,
step.
I know, right?
Well,
my
listen,
brain was just like, communicate, yes, just do
That's a
it.
good segue into what's next. Like that's another thing that you should take a look at. If you're a professional can still function with all this information and all these things going on, then you might be good.
Absolutely. Yeah. There is so much information. Oh, I remember now. So Carol had mentioned how, you know, she tries to dumb it down, like not dumb it down, but, you know, bite-sized pieces. Right. And it's not really, I wouldn't even consider it like dumbing down. Like there's so much information in this industry. And if you're not in it every single day, there are terminologies that you're never gonna know if you're just not in the real estate industry. You're just not gonna know them. And it's fine, like it's okay. Like that's what we're here for, to explain what those terms might be. Because, you know, again, I had to, when I first got into this, learn municipal lien search. I mean, that's a mouthful. Like, what is that? Who knows? Like you have to break it down like word for word, like what that means. And that's what we've been doing in our YouTube videos, and like breaking down everything into like little bite-sized pieces for people, because it's okay not to know everything, like as an individual outside of the real estate industry. Like that's the whole point of why you hire a professional to help you through that. And they shouldn't feel dumb. They should just feel like we are guiding them and helping them, and that we're making sure that they understand, because at the end of the day, this is one of the largest purchases that they're probably going to make in their life, depending on, you know, how much money they got and stuff like that. But, you know, it's very important to understand what you're signing at the end of the day, what you're getting yourself into. And a lot of people, I think, just skate by it, and then they end up in a situation and they're like, oh, you know, that really sucks that that happened. It's like foresight is 2020, right? Or hindsight is 2020. I can't even pronounce words today at school, you know. Communication, I'm just like the hindsight is 2020. So it's like, you don't want to be stuck in a situation where you wish that you weren't in that situation and that you had done better research beforehand, which is why we have this whole topic today, talking about the questions, the pointed questions that you should be asking to make sure that you get the right answers and know exactly what's going on. Does anybody else have anything to add? Per se? No.
Well, it kind of got touched on already, but I want to rephrase the question because it's super valuable. How are you best reached? Like, how do I get an answer from you fastest? How do I inconvenience, you know, you on off hours the least? Like, is texting your mode? Is email your mode? That should be a question that your professional should probably ask you also, but be specific if you expect to be communicated via text, because phone calls just don't work for you. If emails come to you fastest, we want to know that, because we want to make sure that your thread of information is connected and we can keep you as organized as possible. And if your agent isn't interested in, you know, doing that or confirming that with you, you might need to keep looking.
Correct.
You know, I tell all my clients, my signature thing, whether I'm responding to somebody on Facebook or text or whatever, call me anytime. Like, I will answer my phone at 1 o'clock in the morning if I need to. It doesn't matter, because that's, you know, my duty is to them. So, you know. And
knowing that you prefer a phone call, I'm not going to email you if I have something important to call you about, will I? I'm just going to call you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Knowing communication styles. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, well,
and just being available.
It just helps you decide if you're compatible, you know. What is the mode of communication that you're going to be using, and then if it's not a good jive, you know, up front.
Yeah, if they can't adapt to your communication styles, then they're not doing their part to either match you, or they're just not a good match, like you said. Yeah, very good. So I think we covered some good questions today on how to get people, you know, prepared with their professionals, making sure they have a great team behind them. Realtor, lender, title, even though I couldn't talk today, but I promise I can talk. But yeah, it's just really important to have that really solid team behind you and making sure that they're going to communicate with you and that they're going to work hard for you. And I think anybody on these calls, they take time out of their day every week to speak with you guys, educate you guys. Education is so important. We want to make sure that you guys are fully understanding what you guys are getting into when you get into this situation, if you're buying, selling, refinancing, whatever it might be. There's a lot going on. So we want to make sure that you guys are prepared for it, and we're always here for you. You guys can always reach the amazing professionals on this call. Their information is in the description of this video, and the replay of this video, if you're just chiming in now, will be available on YouTube. You can always check out our past videos as well. We have some great topics that we've already covered, but we are going to go into the #1 top tip of the week, because it is Thursday's top tips in real estate. So Alannah, what's your #1 tip?
Lots of questions. Alannah Ghazel, EXP, that's all you need from me.
Lots of questions. Love it. What about you, Codi?
I would say be mindful of your situation. And what I mean by that is, you know, we can be as professional as we want to be, but each situation has its different set of challenges. And although we profess to be professionals, it's always a learning experience for us. We're always still learning something. So, you know, with whoever you're working with, you know, don't be so quick to beat them up, because these are situations that don't pop up all the time and anything can happen. So you just gotta be mindful.
And resilient, I'd say. Making sure you have someone who's resilient with you.
Yeah, true.
Can make it through those hurdles.
That's what we do, solve problems, jump houses.
Yeah, because there are some people who they don't know how to solve it and they won't find solutions, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. And sometimes we got to be creative.
Sometimes. What do you mean? All the time. All the time.
Right.
Katie, what about you?
So true. We do have to be creative and resourceful. Absolutely. So my top tip for today, I can't believe it's September already. I just can't believe it. You know, Codi touched on it, echoing what I always say. You know, ask good questions, do your own research. And once you've made a great choice with your local real estate professional and related industries, trust them to do the job. Stay loyal. So do your research, make a good decision. And what you guys were talking about a minute ago, I totally agree with, where, you know, if it's not a good fit, just rip the Band-Aid off. Just, you know, move on. If you know that you're at odds with somebody's personality or their style of communication or lack thereof, just say, see ya. You know, move on to somebody who can really take good care of you.
Absolutely. It's a great one. What about you, Eric?
All right, so my top tip of the week for this Thursday is cash is not king in our business. If you're sitting on a lot of, and I'm talking cash dollar bills, $100 bills, trust your lender. Yes, trust your lender in how to be able to use that money. Because if you just go deposit $10,000 of cash, that can lose your deal. So that's my tip of the week.
That's a good tip. Oh, look, Katie's got. Hey, Katie, you need to talk to your lender. I love that. All right, Carol, what about you?
Okay, my top tip this week is going to be pack your patience. We are in a time right now, in addition to the pandemic, the market is on fire. And I'm noticing personally that patience is not a virtue right now with some people, and whether it's title, lenders, realtors, whatever. And it's like, I just think people need to remember we're all in this together. We are a team. We all want the same goal at the end, is to get to the closing table, and we should be kind to one another. I'm just putting that out there because it's been a crazy month or two, and I'm seeing it all over the place. And I'm trying not, I don't want to go there, but I'm just please practice your patience in your transactions and be patient with each other, because we are all in this together. You know, everybody's busy, you know, we all want the same goal. We want to close on time, and we're going to get there. Just be kind.
Absolutely.
We all have deadlines to meet within that contract, so communicate effectively on it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Just beat up behind the scenes, so, you know.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. No, that was a great point to bring up, Carol. And I think that it's kind of crazy to think about the fact that coronavirus has now been here for 6 months, guys. It's been 6 months. I did the math the other day. I was like, wait, where did the summer go? How is it September? And who am I? Like, what's going on?
Right. Labor Day, what's that? I mean, we work every day. I get that, you know?
Yeah, I don't, there's COVID time. Yeah, it's like the whole days work differently. So I'm gonna, my top tip, I'm gonna actually agree with Carol, is practice your patience and kindness. If you have a good team with you, they're working hard with you. Now, it's one thing if they're not doing their job, that's a whole nother ball game. But if they are doing their job and they are communicating with you, and they want to make sure that as long as they are communicating with you and making sure that you are aware of everything that's going on and why everything is going on, then you're in a good spot. You have a good team. That's all all that matters in my opinion.
Well,
So I think that, but having that patience during this time is very important. Sorry, what did you say, Cody?
That's the toughest tip. Be safe.
Toughest tip. Yes, very much so. Does anybody have any announcements to make today? Go ahead, Katie. Are you on mute?
I always feel like I'm the first to raise my hand. I get so excited. We are again hosting open houses this weekend, following CDC guidelines, or recommendations, I should say, CDC recommendations. This week it's going to be 225 Mercia Drive at 312. That's on the 3rd floor. This is in Somerset, Abacoa, so it's down in Jupiter. We cover Palm Beach through Indian River County and sometimes out to Okeechobee. Yeehaw.
Ooh.
Bourgeois Real Estate Group, Katie Bourgeois.
Need a little lasso.
Cowbell?
Oh my gosh, she has a lasso. Oh, you mean cowbell?
No.
Oh, I thought
She has everything.
Oh, it's got the
I thought she
cowbell.
was getting a lasso. I was like, oh my gosh, Katie, no way.
Next time.
Next time with the cowbell. Love it. Does anybody else have any announcements to make? All right, well then I'm going to end it on the fact that for the next 2 weeks, I'll actually be on vacation. So we will be postponing these live videos. The Market Update Monday and the Thursday's Top Tips in Real Estate will resume on September 21st. We will have our Market Update Monday again, and the next Thursday's Top Tips is September 24th, and that, I'm going to give you guys the scoop, that topic is going to be navigating real estate contracts. So it's going to be a great video. You guys are going to want to stay tuned. So make sure on September 24th, you guys stay tuned to Thursday's Top Tips in Real Estate at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time if you happen to be in another state. And we will see you then. So thank you guys for joining. I always love hearing everything that you guys have to bring to the table, and I truly appreciate all of you guys' knowledge and just amazingness. So thank you guys, and to all of you guys who are watching, make sure that you guys like our page and stay tuned for those updates on the next Thursday's Top Tips, and we will see you guys soon, and reach out to these amazing professionals.
Peace out.
Okay?
Peace out.
Thank you, Lucy.
Thank you guys. Have an amazing Thursday and weekend.